大家好，我是小镇小民。最近啊，在美国的媒体叫嚷着要开战的这种声音越来越响，尤其是有美国的军方有一位5星级的将领，他有给他的手下、给他的士兵写的一封信里头，他挺明确的说的，2年以内中美开战。除了这一封信，还有其他的一些文章啊，还有一些人的一些言论等等，我回头再另外做节目再给大家整理。今天呢，我是想跟大家分享一段视频。这段视频呢是两个事实上是反战的两个人，一个是左翼的，一个是右翼的，他们在一起的一个谈话。传的人挺多的，我觉得挺有必要分享一下的。我想说一下哈，这两个人是，一个人是叫做 Tucker Carlson，经常看我的节目的人对他应该也不陌生。这是一个右翼反华的人，但是客观的讲哈，Tucker Carlson 不是那种丧心病狂的反华，他考虑更多的还是觉得中国呢夺去了很多的美国的工作机会，他还是这种想法。而且你如果看他这一段视频呢，他明显的并不想跟中国开战，所以呢，这是一个等于是右翼的反战的一个人。他采访的这个人叫 Jimmy Dore，Jimmy Dore 他一开始自己应该是个脱口秀的人，现在呢他自己有他自己的节目，他呢是左翼的反战人士，我倒没有看到他怎么反华。他应该说对于中国的呢并不了解，但是呢他总的来讲他是反对战争的，所以呢就是这么一段视频现在传得很厉害。我给大家分享的呢除了就是他这个采访以外哈，后面是一点 Jimmy Dore 和他的一个朋友，这个朋友叫 Kurt Metzger， 这个人呢经常在他的节目里头一块儿，两个人算是共同主持，或者是就是经常的一块儿聊聊天。这个 Kurt Metzger 还谈到了中国的战狼外交的事情，他的意思就是说，其实什么叫战狼外交啊？美国的外交等于一直都是战狼外交。还有这么一小段，我觉得也挺有意思的，就是值得共同分享。我们来看一下。
You can be outraged by the people running our country selling out our country to China, and you should be, but that's a very different thing from wanting to go to war with China, a war that we have no assurance we would win, to put it mildly. But in a memo to his troops, 4-star Air Force General Mike Minahan wrote this, quote, "My gut tells me we will fight in 2025. Xi Jinping secured his third term and set his war council in October 2022. Taiwan's presidential elections are in 2024 and will offer Xi a reason. U.S. presidential elections are in 2024 and will offer Xi a distracted America. Xi's team, reason, and opportunity are all aligned for 2025. So what should we take of this? Again, you can be deeply skeptical, in fact, hostile toward China, and still be worried about going to war with China. Jimmy Dore is the host of the Jimmy Dore Show. He joins us tonight to assess. Jimmy, should we be paying attention to a memo like this? What do you think it means?
What I think it means is that the United States is trying to provoke and sable rattle with another nuclear power, right? This is what we were supposed to be afraid of was going to happen with Donald Trump, right? We couldn't have, he's a crazy man who's going to have his finger on the nuclear button. And now we have Demented Joe, who is saber rattling with 2 nuclear powers, and they get the corporate media sponsored by the military industrial complex to get Americans to cheer it on. And why do Americans cheer it on? Because they have no idea what's actually happening with their foreign policy. And what's worse is they have no idea that they have no idea that they don't have any idea what's happening with their foreign policy. We have 400 military bases surrounding China since the Korean War. Do we really think that China is getting ready to invade the United States? Because I tell you, they're not. They make everything we use in the United States. Why? Because the same people who want this war are the same people who took the good jobs that are manufacturing jobs in America, turned them into low-paying, crappy jobs, and then shipped them to China, and then we get angry at them for the system that we set up. If they're so corrupt, because that's the thing, Americans have no idea how corrupt their government is. They think our government's just regular corrupt, like, oh, Trump gave his son a job or Biden gave his kid a no-show job in the Ukraine war. That's not, the whole thing is corrupt. The $800 billion military budget is $800 billion of corruption. Why do we have to have 900 military bases around? We're the ones provoking this war, just like we provoked the war in Ukraine. We are now provoking a war with China. And who benefits? I'll tell you right now, your enemy is not China. Your enemy is not Russia. Your enemy is the military industrial complex, which has been fleecing this country to the tunes of hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars. How many times are we going to have a defense secretary say, hey, we can't account for $2 trillion in the Pentagon again? Which has happened twice now in my lifetime. So again, people are being, the war machine cannot not be stopped. Who's running this country? The war machine. It certainly isn't Joe Biden making these decisions. I would like to know who is making the decisions. And I just want to remind everybody, the United States is the world's terrorist. We just set the Middle East on fire in the last 20 years, and now we're doing a proxy war in Ukraine, which we provoked, NATO provoked, and it was just admitted that we provoked it by the former Prime Minister of Germany. And now we're trying to saber rattle with China, and they're predicting a war. Again, China's not going to invade us. China's not our enemy. We might have an economic war. That's what these are. These are economic wars. These are wars in Ukraine. It's about liquefied natural gas and making sure Germany and Russia never come together because we fear Russia's natural resources and manpower, and we fear them getting together with Germany with their technology and their capital. And so that's why we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. That's why we're doing the Ukraine war. This is all about hegemony, imperialism, and economics. And if there's a Marine somewhere, it's there because they're about to steal some natural resources from another country. As everybody's screaming about what a bad guy Putin is for invading Ukraine, the United States is currently occupying a third of Syria. And which third is that? It's the third that has the oil. And how do I know we're there to steal their oil? Because the President of the United States said so.
And we're not even benefiting economically. Of course, that's the rub. Jimmy Dore, appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And by the way, I would love to say that stuff on MSNBC, CNN, ABC. They will never have me on. The only person in the whole corporate news that will have a message like that is a guy who hosts for Fox News and coincidentally has the #1 news show in America.
I was going to say he has better ratings. Why would you go on the best rated one?
So I'm on the #1 news show in America, and then I get to also go on the #1 podcast in America or in the world.
In the world.
So I think it's okay. So thanks to Tucker for bringing me on and having that message to his audience, which needs to hear that China and Russia are not your enemy. They need to hear it. They got to hear it. And thanks to Tucker to let me say it.
Well, you know what's so funny is they're not going to invade the United States. People are like, oh, if they invade Taiwan.
That's not invading the United States. Yeah,
we have to go. Taiwan, the United States, not me. According to the United States, it belongs to them.
It belongs to Taiwan.
So what are you talking about? Yeah, to China.
Yeah.
I didn't know that we officially said that. This whole time, I've only heard if they invade Taiwan.
It's one China policy. So that means the United States acknowledges that China owns that they're part of them.
There's a movie in China that's like their version of Rambo called Wolf Warrior. Okay, it's a lot of stuff about how they're nicer in Africa and then they fight a capitalist bad guy, but it's like Rambo. It's just like how Rambo is. And they have a thing called Wolf Warrior diplomacy, which is when I think of that Dippy General, all that thing he was saying, there's a bunch of politicians that are like that. And I watched a whole video about China has these Wolf Warrior diplomats. Everything we say sounds exactly like what they say.
Yep.
But 2 years, they're going to have a war.
They're going to have a war.
They're going to have a blue water navy to challenge us on the high seas.
Jimmy Dore 说的这一段东西啊，他每一个字我都同意。我确实觉得他说的都挺对的。他说的里头有几样东西挺有意思的，我觉得一个呢，他说穿了就是北溪被炸的这件事情，这是明摆着的，美国人就是不能允许德国人和俄罗斯搞在一起，就这么简单。他等于说得很清楚。还有一个，他就说那些什么 ABC 啊、CNN 啊这些主流媒体是不会找他的。Tucker Carlson 是属于主流媒体，但是呢，他也是被其他的主流媒体排斥的一个，因为他是福克斯的。美国的问题不是没有人反战，是反战的声音都被强烈的压制着，主流媒体是不反战的。我以前曾经聊过，主流媒体它是被这些什么军工复合体啊、医药复合体啊控制着，所以主流媒体是不会去反战的，当然也就不会去找 Jimmy Dore 这样的人上去说。虽然说 Tucker Carlson 他自己的这个节目啊，晚间的这段时间的节目是美国的从收视率来讲一直是持续的第一名的，他比他们其他的那些媒体啊都要看的人多。一方面的原因其实也就是别人多多少少对他还是信任的，像我就对他来讲还是有一点信任，虽然说我确实有些观点我是不同意的，但我对他的信任度超过对任何其他的什么 CNN、MSNBC 那些媒体，因为那些媒体现在基本上没法看，他基本上就是美国政府说什么他就是什么，基本上就是这样。另外我就觉得 Jimmy Dore 的这个朋友 Kurt Metzger 他说的那个对于战狼的那段时间，我觉得他说的挺好的，是吧？就是他是觉得这有什么特别的，我也觉得是美国人把他这个特当回事儿，好像现在的中国的外交部是个什么战狼外交部什么， 你美国的外交部一直是这样的，什么时候看到过美国的外交部也好，国防部也好，是什么绵羊外交有吗？或者是和平鸽的外交有吗？它从来都是战狼外交的呀。在结束的时候啊，我想说，今天呢是斯大林格勒保卫战的纪念日。80年前，斯大林格勒进行了一场极其惨烈的斯大林格勒保卫战。它是1942年开始的，1942年的8月份开始，纳粹德国要攻占斯大林格勒，然后斯大林格勒的军民一心去保护斯大林格勒，打了半年，最后呢，德国人撤了，算是保住了。这场战争被认为人类战争史上最残酷的一场战争，因为一共死亡是200万人。这个数字呢，确实其他的战争似乎好像没有能够跟它相比的，就是一场战争。那这样惨烈的战争，德国打输了的结果，是对他的不管是军事力量上，还是心灵上的这种打击是很难恢复过来，所以也就成为了2战的转折点，最终呢战胜了德国。而80年后的今天，对吧？我们现在看到的是德国坦克在乌克兰又跟俄罗斯在进行战斗，确实挺让人不踏实的。加上美国最近这个叫嚣要打仗的声音，确实也是非常的让人不乐观。我前几天还跟一个朋友聊到这件事情，我们2个人基本上同意，就是说一旦中美打起来的话，像我们这样的人，美国的华人很有可能就像2战期间的日本人，被关到这种营地里头去。你不能叫它集中营，它不是那种纳粹的集中营，但是呢，它就是你会失去自由那种营地，这是很有可能的。所以我们作为在美国的华人，其实是特别希望，中美要保持和平，不要真的打起来。我们确实是这样子，但是这种时候哈，我就觉得自己真的是个小民，我们做不了什么，对不对？只能是听天由命。我也只能就说我支持像 Jimmy Dore、像 Tucker Carlson 所有的热爱和平反战的人，我都支持他们。好，今天这个事情呢，就先聊到这里，谢谢大家。喜欢我的节目，麻烦点赞、留言、转发、订阅，谢谢。